Do I usually start this with a verse? Which one?
The one with the footsteps.
Hmm. May the sacred presence of the one who said he would abide in his teachings be our guide. May we follow his glorious example and tread with unfaltering steps this noble path, until we too shall attain enlightenment. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, bodhisattvas, mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, maha, prajna, paramita. Thank you for bearing with me as I ask almost every week, do we start this with a verse? I'm still struggling with my post-COVID, long COVID things. And part of what I'm noticing is sometimes words or items, or especially names, will just vanish into a vacuum. And I have become very familiar with this feeling of like reaching into that darkness of my mind, looking for it, looking for it, looking. That's not it. Maybe it's, oh, there it is. Okay. And all of a sudden, boom, it's right there in the bright lights of conscious awareness. So I will probably continue to start off my talks with, do we start this with a verse? Or end a book reading with, do we close this with a verse? I usually remember the verses once I'm prompted, but sometimes, but forgetfulness and introductory dedication verses are not exactly what I want to be talking about tonight. What I do want to be talking about tonight is summer practice. And this topic of practicing in the summertime has a little bit of a tender place in my heart. It's been hard, not always hard, it's been somewhat hard, challenging at times. As we're going through this book, You Are Still Here, this collection of Kyogen's talks, because I remember so many of those talks, or I remember the stories that Kyogen would tell in those talks. But one of the things that Kyogen was particularly enchanted by was summertime. There was a simplicity to it that he enjoyed and could wax eloquently about. He would mention it every year as the spring practice term wrapped up and the summer term began. And it's not quite so much with the liturgical cycle at Wy'East, although we're getting there slowly. But at the temple where I live and I train, our year is divided into practice periods of roughly 3 months each. Spring and fall are our ongo periods, or our intensive practice periods. And then summer and winter are non-ongo, or relaxed periods. And during ongo, there's more formality, more zazen, more classes, and less sleep. And in the relaxed periods, it's a time for temple staff to take vacations. There's more time for work practice. There's more time for sleep, which is lovely. And practice feels a little more relaxed and a little more spacious. And as I was putting together this talk, I was clocking that we have some Sangha members who are on opposite sides of the world in a different hemisphere, such that as we are entering into summer, he is entering into winter. So this talk might not quite apply, but maybe in 6 months, Peter can listen to this talk and engage with summer practice. So here with this Sangha, with Wy'East, I would often offer advanced studies classes in the relaxed periods, as I had more space in my temple schedule. But now I'm leaning towards offering those during the fall. or the spring, so as to retain a sense of balance and inviting that sense of times in the Sangha where we do more study, we do more formal practice, and then also times where, we're not going to have advanced studies classes and we're going to have a little bit more relaxed practice. So in Buddhism, like this idea of concentrated times and relaxed times are not anything new. Like they've sort of been built in from the beginning. So the stories of the stories that I've heard about the Buddha's time was that, the monks would gather during the rains retreats during the monsoon season, and the Buddha and his disciples would gather together and practice together during those times. And then when it wasn't the monsoon season, when things dried out, everybody would sort of disperse and go their own way to travel, to teach. And then when it came time for the monsoons again, they would gather together for the rains retreats. Also, as Buddhism spread to China, so this is looking at our own particular lineage history, as Buddhism spread to China, it interacted with or intersected with Taoism, which had a very strong relationship with the natural world and with this sense of flow and change and alchemy. And some of that seeped into how Dharma became expressed. And then if we jump forward another several hundred years and we start looking at Japanese Buddhism or the Zen tradition in Japan, starting with Dogen in the 13th century, he also had this pattern of coming together for intensive practice and then having lighter schedules otherwise. In Dogen's time, it was switched. It was like switched 90 degrees in a funny way, in that, if you read Dogen, you can hear him talk about the summer Ango period. So summertime was the time for intensive practice, and then spring and fall were relaxed times. So I kept thinking like, oh, I'm gonna go get some Dogen for this talk, and we're gonna talk about like relaxed summer practice. And then, I was reading through the Eihei Kuroku and it's like, oh, wait, hold on. So all of his writings about like welcoming people into the intensive practices are like welcoming them to summer, and then releasing them, go rest, happens at the end of summer, just as for us, we would be going into another intensive practice. So I was a little stymied by that. Dogen still has ways of reaching out from the 13th century and causing the Zen students to go, okay. But as Zen influenced Japanese culture, you can see a lot of these turning towards the natural in the art forms, whether it's flower arranging or tea ceremony, or just ways of bringing forward the beauty of natural forms with an emphasis on harmony and balance. And then our tradition sort of comes to America, and Zen practitioners in this country do all sorts of everything. So, looking at practices from temple to temple, it might be different when the practice periods are, whether they're summer and winter or fall and spring. So for us, summer's a light schedule. And like Kyogen used to get so excited about that summer practice, that summer schedule. When I think of this, I think of him at his barbecue grill, which he loved to barbecue, and excitement around baseball games. Not only watching them, but also like he organized a softball game between the Dharma Rain Sangha and the community of the evangelical Christians that we were doing a dialogue group with. And so we thought about doing like, okay, the Buddhists and the Christians, and we're like, nah, that's too contentious. So like everybody got split up between the two teams. We all just played and had a good time, and it was fun. So oftentimes, like when we think about time, from our sort of classically educated point of view, we think about time marching forward or time marching on, and time has a linear feel. We start from here and we go there, and we get born, and then we can move all the way through our life to old age and death. Everything goes in one direction. There are other ways of looking at time that are much more cyclical. I'm sure many of us have encountered these ideas of cyclical time. Buddhism definitely has a sense of cyclical time. Hinduism has a sense of cyclical time, and many native traditions have a sense of cyclical time. Patterns come around again. We see the same view, but from a slightly different place. So we have our liturgical year that cycles through particular dates that we commemorate, anniversaries, festivals, and practice periods of more or less concentrated focus practice. So one small manifestation of this cyclical patterning, like I said, shows up in our patterns of relaxed times and intensive times, and in personal practices. So our individual practices that each of us do, this can be a change in how we meditate or how often we meditate. Perhaps we sit outdoors among the plants and the trees. Or perhaps we go for a hike and sit among the inhabitants in the forest. We're going to have our Sangha hike in less than 2 weeks. And, a picnic. So this is also like outdoor stuff. We can call it practice. That practice of being social with Sangha and being warm and inviting and caring for each other. But we can also let go of that label of practice and just enjoy each other's company. So this fluidity and the cyclical pattern shows up in other parts of our lives and practice as well. So again and again, we meet aspects of our own karma that maybe we thought we had resolved, and lo and behold, still there. Whatever it is you meet those repeated karmic patterns with. Or sometimes we find ourselves encountering familiar teachings, but from a different perspective. Oh, there's that thing again. Oh, yes, there's that thing again. Thought I was done with that. Nope, it's still there. Gotta watch out for it because it'll come back again. I still do that. I don't know if you guys do it, but I will admit that I still do that. And there's a relaxed spirit that arises during summer. And this month we're reciting the Harmony of Difference and Sameness, but I think it was last month, that we did the Song of the Grassroof Hermitage. Taiko's nodding her head, so I got that one right. But this is a piece of Zen literature that, like, for me really shows up with that sense of that relaxedness, that ease. There's a simplicity to it that makes itself known. So I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. It just calls it out right there. I relax and enjoy a nap. When it was completed, fresh weeds appeared. Now it's been lived in, covered by weeds. I am the current gardener at the Zen temple, and like my blood pressure raises just reading the word weeds. So I appreciate in this poem, fresh weeds appeared. Now it's been lived in, covered by weeds. Nothing to do. The person in the hut lives here calmly, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between, not worried about weeds in the garden. Places worldly people live, he doesn't live. Realms worldly people love, he doesn't love. Doesn't say he hates it, but just, not super attached. Though the hut is small, it includes the entire world. And 10 square feet, an old man illumines forms in their nature. What more is necessary? Everything is as it should be. Great vehicle Bodhisattva trusts without doubt. The middling or lowly can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? I love that line, a great vehicle Bodhisattva trusts without doubt. There is something there that just feels stable. Perishable or not, the original master is present. Not dwelling south or north, east or west, just right here. Firmly based on steadiness, it can't be surpassed. A shining window below the green pines. Jade palaces or vermilion towers can't compare with it. This is loving that which is simple and relaxed. Just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. Thus, this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. Living here, he no longer works to get free. Who would proudly arrange seats trying to entice guests? Turn around the light to shine within and then just return. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Such simple teachings. It doesn't say turn around the light to shine within and figure it all out. It doesn't say turn around the light to shine within and explain it to your neighbor. Turn around the light to shine within and then just return. Returning again and again to this very simple sense of self. This trust, this stability. Meet the ancestral teachers, be familiar with their instruction. Bind grasses to build a hut and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. There's that word relax again. Open your hands and walk innocent. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from the skin bag here and now. Kyogen loved this poem, and we would use Sherto's Song of the Grassroot Hermitage for term student often. And he would always emphasize, bind grasses to build a hut and don't give up. He would pace out those last 3 words, don't give up. So much of this poem is a simple reminder that we have what we need. And it is a simple reminder that our experience can be enjoyable, that we don't have to add anything to it if we relax, if we accept the conditions that we're in. Now, given the teachings of impermanence, we're not always going to be in a stable, relaxed state all the time. We can try to be, but then that's just attaching to an imagined state. We can imagine this ease that Sherto's talking about, and we want to get it. So we grasp after it. But we don't have to do that chasing. In a way, it's already here. And in a way, with the summer, we don't have to try to relax. We can discover the ease that is already present. Sometimes for some folks, like having a change in form, or even that idea of moving into a more relaxed schedule, or a summertime of more um, freedom in terms of how and when we practice, that can be stressful in and of itself. So it may be that there's a need for having things be a particular way, or a need for control, or a need for predictability that gets jostled. But that's okay. It's actually a good thing. Our Zen practice is very good at pointing us towards what we're trying to cling to. We have an opportunity to let go of attachments and expectations, experience what is actually arising. So I want to encourage you this summer to shake up your personal practice a little bit. Experiment with changing some aspect of it, and let a lighter summer practice manifest. When fall comes, there's usually a natural turning towards Dharma and study. And in the fall is when we'll have our term student program and our advanced studies class this fall. But you can lean into just that sense of ease, or just that sense of relaxation, or just that sense of summer. And I would encourage you to explore that. See what comes up. We'll still be meeting on Wednesdays, so that part will stay the same, and Sundays and Mondays. But your personal practice can shift and change. And so that's what I want to offer for a talk for this evening. These Dharma talks are meant as encouragement talks. So I will leave it at that, and I'm happy for questions or comments, or even better, what is your summer practice going to be like?
I love this. Thank you for this talk, Jyoshin. This is great. I think that what I would like to do, I'm really enjoying my garden, and while I have a front yard, and I've been planting flowers to attract bees and butterflies and stuff. And since it's so, I like to meditate first thing in the morning when I get up. And so since it's light out when I get up, I might go sit on my front porch and just enjoy the flowers. Since when else am I going to be able to do that? So
Beautiful. What sort of flowers are you planting?
Well, I have a lavender bush that's planted that the bees love, but I just planted some marigolds and poppies and other things that I can't remember. So
nice.
I haven't really started it this year, but in the past, because the light comes so early, and I go outside and I have a chair and a little table out by our little pond, and I love to go out there and sit and meditate and just listen to all the sounds of the birds and the quiet things that in the morning, the birds and the bugs and whatever. So I want to start doing that again, and not start out the morning with this big rush. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but take that time for myself to go and just ground myself with earth. And so that's my goal, is to start doing that. I love it. It's just calming. It's like, and then I always set, actually did start doing this just a couple of days ago because the weather's been nice, but I set like intention for the day.
Ah,
I like that. I got that from somebody, I'm not sure who, but set an intention for the day, and I try to make it real. I do make it really optimistic. Like my intention is to whatever, but make it real positive, and then just hold that. It's very calming.
Lovely.
Tell us about your garden.
Who, me?
Me?
Yes, Jyoshin, you said you're the gardener.
Mm. The temple garden has I think it's about an acre-ish, and there are raised beds. Some of the plants are in raised beds, and some are not. There's just a variety of things. This is my first year gardening, and so it's my learning year. I keep calling it. This is my every time something goes sideways, it's like, oh, this is my learning year. Um,
You have
it's just
vegetables, flowers.
vegetables, flowers, herbs. We've got an orchard, but I don't manage the orchard. Today we planted tomatillos and melons. Beans are up, tomatoes are in, onions are going. I'm about to pull in turnips and peas. But it's delightful, and it brings up a lot of curiosity for me. Growing up as a kid, I never really had a lot of exposure to gardens or outside. I was pretty much a city kid and an indoor city kid. And so I'm learning, like, oh, this is what an onion looks like when it's a baby onion. Or, oh, huh, I wonder when it's time to harvest turnips. How do I figure that out? Or, oh, I can't tell the difference between baby broccolis and baby cauliflowers. I should have labeled those. So, I'm learning, I'm making all the mistakes and learning. It's a lot, and I don't do it by myself. We have a whole cadre of volunteers who come in and help, and we're working on irrigation and getting drip lines going today, and the strawberries are starting to set fruit, and I'm waiting for those to turn red, and it's just a good place to be. And after my 18 months working in the hospital during COVID times, like, it's such a beautiful antidote to like that sort of hospital system stress that I had felt for so long.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of grass, and every day it's like pulling out the grass, and did we get the roots, and oh look, it's back, and do I have to mow again? So I do a lot of positive reframing.
Good.
And I'm always curious to hear about people's gardens.
Jyoshin, thank you for that nice, simple, sweet talk. I love the idea of concentrated times and times of relaxation, because it's such an organic way to think of it. Everything is like that, concentration, relaxation, contract, expand, inhale, exhale. It's nice. It's nice to change up your practice, to sort of breathe in and out like that. So thanks for that, framing it that way. That's nice.
Yeah, it can keep things, or help to keep things fresh.
Yeah.
And like having a little bit of a structure to the flow, like, can also like help move you out of a stuck place, or let you notice when you're trying to keep things the same all the time. So having to put down that sense of concentrated practice. You move into relaxation when like all of that form and structure helps you to feel safe. Or putting down that sense of ease and play at the end of summer and sort of picking up a more intentional practice or a more deliberate practice of, okay, perhaps I'm going to add some academic study to my day and do some reading of a sutra, or maybe I'm going to add an art practice and do some, art around some sort of a dharmic theme, just adding structure back in. When sometimes that's, at least there have been times at the end of summer I felt like a little grade school kid kicking my heels, like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I still want to go play with my friends. But that contrast helps us see more clearly. So like in the harmony of difference and sameness, that whole scripture that we recited for service today points towards that play of similarity and difference, absolute and relative. These are the commonalities and these are the unique aspects. And if it was all the same, you wouldn't be able to see those distinctions.
I think that without the structure of a temple sort of imposed on you, it, for me, would be a matter of kind of inventing my own Ango period and summer period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think, if we do a term student this fall, like part of what I'd like to work with people on is like, what is your fall practice going to be? What is it going to look like? What elements are you going to include? So it's sort of front loaded and you don't have to figure it out. And when you get to November and everything's gray and dreary and the rains have started and you don't want to do anything, like you've got a structure to fall back on. This is what we decided. And we can hold each other accountable. Like not in a, I'm going to check up on you way, or you're going to check up on each other way, but how's your practice going? Hey, you said you were going to do some sutra copying. How's that going? I see head nods.
When I think of the summertime, there's more structure for me in terms of those weeds have got to get pulled. I don't mow the lawn anymore, but there's things that have to get done. In the winter, they don't do any of that. I stay inside and read. But in the summer, and we just got the dirt put into the garden box today and planting and stuff, and things have to get done. So there's actually a little bit more structure in the summer with a yard and garden, and appreciating the incredible flowers and the artichokes. We've got 4 artichokes already coming out today. It's like, oh, wow.
Nice. Yeah. And in a way that's like that description of gardens creating more structure is like the winter or the spring and fall intensive periods, or do we have the summer and winter intensive periods? It might be dharmically, we have more ease in a summer practice, but we might have more work in the garden practice, right? And there's definitely a lot that growing things can keep you involved in.
And it is lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree, Nancy. Like, it's a lot of work to do in the summer when you have a garden or you have property. But I also think that physiologically, we're animals, and I know for myself, I tend to want to hibernate more in the winter. The days are shorter and dark, and summer it's like, it's bright at 5:30 in the morning, gets dark at 9:30 at night, and it just brings a whole new energy and awakeness. And so I want to do more, and I do some stuff, and then I sit outside with an iced tea and go, wow, this is pretty cool. So it's just physiologically, a difference too. Especially if you have trouble with the dark days, and then you kind of, short day syndromes or something. But yeah, so turning to books in the winter is good, and then you can fall asleep in front of the fire reading a book. I have a question. Something that you said, Jyoshin, as I heard you say, is that like the practice versus like letting go and just enjoying each other's company. I was thinking that possibly enjoying each other's company is practice too, a different kind of practice. But I'm looking forward to the 18th because I didn't make it to the last one where we got together and to seeing everybody, and just that's inspirational for me in and of itself. And isn't that kind of a practice, a form of practice?
It can be. I think when I made that comment, I was contrasting more like coming together for a class or coming together for a Dharma talk versus coming together to, sit around and share food and share stories. And like there's an element of Dharma still there because we're still, aiming to accord with the precepts and use right speech and right mindfulness and all of those aspects of the Eightfold Path. But we're not coming together for like explicit Dharma investigation of like, what is the Dharma of this moment? It's just like, what have you been up to? Like, tell me about your life. Tell me what's been going on. I would love to hear what's going on for you. There's an element of carrying a connection that is very, very Dharma oriented and very spiritual. But it's not the same as like, okay, we're gonna have a class on the Mountains and Waters Sutra this fall, and that's why we're gonna get together.
Yeah.
So it's just more spaciousness.
Yeah, more relaxed or whatever. Yeah. Thank you. Really well said.
We got about 5 more minutes. I'm just wondering if anybody else wants to offer a comment or a question. It doesn't have to be to me specifically. It can be in response to something that someone else has said. Or not, that's okay. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Well, I seem to be chatty tonight, so I'll just say I think it's really cool that we're going to have a Sangha appreciation. I mean, it's cool to be appreciated as part of a Sangha, and we appreciate Jyoshin and Chantai and the teachers. But I just think it's really cool. How often do we get to actually honor each other and ourselves? That's really Cool. I like it. I like the intent.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how the day shapes up.
Yeah.
I've been having trouble with my computer froze totally, so
Uh-oh.
I missed everything. I missed all the announcements, and I have no idea what time things are happening. And I really appreciated the the summer, talking about the slowing down in the summer, but it's hard in the summer because, like people have said, I feel like, I have to rush over and work in the garden and do this and that. But if anyone could tell me what's like the hike and the timing and all that kind of stuff, and where I should meet you guys, because I'm not going to drive all the way down to take it.
Penny, I sent you another email. Check your
Oh,
email.
you did? Okay.
Yeah, check it carefully. You should have at least one, probably two emails.
Oh, good.
And the
Okay.
and the only thing you really need to know is that you're leading the hike, so be there.
I know that, but I don't know if I'm supposed to be there.
Well, you just need to check your email, and if you can't find it, let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. And I've been listening on my phone, but I just don't have a computer anymore.
Uh-huh.
So I got to the middle of the Dharma talk. I've been fighting with the computer. So
Thank you for
Wow.
explaining that. I was wondering where you were, because I saw you were there, but I didn't see your face.
right. And then I couldn't join the breakout rooms and I couldn't do anything.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, but that's part of life now. In this day.
Sometimes you just get stuck on Zoom. You just get stuck.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll go into a breakout room for Sanzen and I can't hear what the other person is saying. I'm like, oh, hold on, I gotta exit out and come back in, and it's super awkward. And so I hear you. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too. Thanks.
Yeah. Any last thoughts? All right, please make a show. The universe is as the boundless sky. Just as the lotus is not wetted by the water that surrounds it, the mind is immaculate and beyond the dust. Let us bow to the highest Lord. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, bodhisattvas, mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, maha, prajna, paramita. Thank you all. I hope you have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you, Jyoshin.
Thank you, Jyoshin.
And I might not be here next week because the temple will be in retreat next week. So we'll see.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, y'all.
Night.